people can't protest in Florida because a lot of people decided to make it illegal.
Yeah. DeSantis is one of the most like, oh my God, like he is one of the most like team sports playing Republicans. Like he'll talk about censorship when it's his team and he'll say, oh, I'm being censored. And then he'll turn around and try to make it a crime to protest, try to arrest protesters, because he knows that the majority of the people that are protesting or that were protesting at that time were supporting an ideology like, or BLM, or were on the left, things that he doesn't support. And it's people like that to me that are some of the worst, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. They only allow for their ideology to be the guiding factor. And if they don't support like the ideology of the other person, then the rules don't apply. You can't have that. You can't either. You say we support free speech, period, for everybody, even if I don't agree with you, or you don't. And I think that people like DeSantis contribute to the entire sort of culture war, team sports mentality. People, I mean, he just put out this bill that's like an anti-communist bill that like kids must be taught in Florida to learn how the destruction of communism plagued so many nations in the world. I'm like, okay, can we learn about the destruction of capitalism? Can we learn about that too? I mean, we're living it, right? I mean, it's just so ridiculous. And it's all for brownie points from, this sector. And that's all politicians are. I mean, that's all they're there for. They're there to pretty much narrative manage. They're there to pretty much be influencers. We've seen what the squad has turned into, right? Basically Instagram influencers and just like tweeting, oh, we all need health, Medicare for all. Okay, tweet about it some more. It's good. I'm not in Congress, dude. I'm not in Congress. She is in Congress. AOC's in Congress. All the entire squad's in Congress. They keep voting for expanding NATO, for more war, for more sanctions on the foreign policy side. On the domestic policy side, they talk about Medicare for all, but they don't do anything about it. And so what is it? What we're not there. We're not there anymore. We're past it. And this is why my coverage has shifted into more foreign policy and anti-imperialism and the surveillance state, because I don't like, that's not where we're at. And I think also locally, if people are trying to do things locally via city council, via their local community, I think that also is a way to sort of prepare for the downfall, because it is happening right now, and it's coming to get worse.
Yeah. What would you give until, well, I mean, the United States has been in a collapse for decades, but the final like death knell of the empire, like what time frame do you give it in your, expert opinion?
I mean, it's not gonna happen overnight. I mean, I think we're gonna enter into a recession by 2023.
Mm-hmm.
But just looking at the economics of everything that's happening, but I think it takes like decades. Rome didn't, like, it fell, but it didn't just fall overnight. I mean, there's going to be denial. We're going to go through the stages of grief as it starts happening. We already are. There's an era, there's an air of just decay and like nihilism from so many people. But for me, it's like there has to be acceptance. And I think there's a lot of denial right now. Like, it's going to be okay. We're just going to, everything's going to bounce back and the United States is going to be fine. The dollar is already diminishing in value. For example, we're just printing money that doesn't have any value. And so that's causing inflation. And so now we have a lot of people, more and more people are moving out of the country. And you have two generations in debt. You have the millennial generation in debt from student loan debt. And then you have Gen Z that is increasingly in debt because of that. And then you have a lot of mental illness. You have a lot of fractured, divided populations at each other's throats. You have a war machine that usually war can sometimes, during World War II, it did help the economy. because they brought the production to home, right? They were producing guns, and they were producing arms, and giving people jobs and through the war. That's not happening anymore. So it's the opposite. The wealth is going outside. So it's going to take, like, I think, a few decades for it to really, really look like it's falling. But the good news is we're shifting into from a unipolar world to a multipolar world. And that comes with a lot of different things. There's a lot of people vying for control of the world right now. It's becoming less about nation states than rather more about these billionaires. And that's not like some conspiratorial thing. It's like people with a lot of money have a lot of things in common. And these things, they sit around, they go to the same parties, they attend the same type of events, they network, they live in the same communities. So yes, they all have a common objective goal. And the common goal is that they can't afford to have all these people around here, right? To have all of us here. So there's going to be a lot of shortages, a lot of like food crises. There's definitely going to be economic downfall in terms of like the standard of living in the United States, which has already been falling. If you go to other countries, you can live like the lifespan is higher than ours. You have the increasing food allergies, the increasing just diseases that a lot of us are getting just from the things, the environment, the chemicals, the food. There's a lot of things in the United States that are legal chemical wise that are illegal in other countries and other unions like the European Union and the UK. You'd be surprised like how there are products there that they don't allow. So I think it's going to take a few decades, but it's definitely right now in decline. And like I said, the good news is there's going to be more cooperation from other countries. And I think that the revolution, like the actual revolution to push back, is going to happen in the global South and the East as well. And that's where there's a lot of attention being paid to now, is the East, because the West is just, and not just us, but Europe too, in decline.
Yeah, basically the Western nations,
Mhm.
definitely. In fact, I was just looking at the 5 stages of grief. If you look at it
Yeah.
from a economic and global scale, we're in the denial stage, but next is anger.
Mhm.
After anger, then it's bargaining, then depression, then acceptance. Um, and it's gonna be a wild ride. Um, and some people like me myself, I don't know if I'm gonna live to see it all because of being chronically ill, and also being in this space and using my voice to say these things in this country. The powers that be do not look kindly upon those of us who speak truth to power.
Right.
Just ask people like Fred Hampton and Martin Luther King Jr. So, this is one of the reasons why it's so important to get the word out as much as we possibly can, as early as we can, so that we can do this.